Hey, hey everybody, how's it going? Give me a bunch of ones if there's anybody in the audience here. Looks like there's 5 people. Give me a bunch of OTVOs. So I look like a green guy today. My screen's all screwed up. Something's wrong with my camera, my lighting. I rearranged my office. Hey, what's going on, guys? And I did this research because I hear a lot about this Organic Act of 1871 and the so-called sovereign citizen movement. And everybody talks about the sovereign citizen movement and the government, how like they label anybody a sovereign citizen who doesn't go along with the program kind of a thing, right? Yeah, a bunch of ones, yeah. And a lot of people say that it comes directly from this Organic Act of 1871. And in a nutshell, what the argument is I'll just say sovereigns, people who think that they're sovereign, not sovereign citizens. I'll just call them sovereigns out of respect for everybody, so everybody understands that I'm not taking sides here. I just want everybody to understand. I just want to understand and explain, because this seems to be the nexus of where all this comes from. Hopefully you guys can all hear me. Give me a 1 if you can hear me. Give me a 1 if I look green, like I'm a Martian. That's why I'm not opening up my whole screen, because I see this big green like halo behind me. Yes, I do have a green screen behind me. Okay, cool. So it seems to be like hey Chevy, how's it going? And I appreciate you guys joining me. It's increasingly harder and harder for me to do these videos because it takes so much time and coming up with cool stuff to talk about. But at the same token, it gives me a chance to tell my kids too, hey, check this out. Let's research this together. So you're kind of helping me in a way too, and we get to both learn together. And this is a big thing that I see. How about now? Is there sound? We good? All 13 of you? This is great. All 13 of you. Hey, it's really cool to see all you guys. Bipolar, especially you. Forrest, Chevy. So I've been doing all this research. I know you can't see the screen that well, and unfortunately, I don't really know how to use these particular tabs to make it zoom in. Maybe this does it. Hold on, let's see if we can zoom in. No, it doesn't do it. Well, anyways, what we're going to do is just really quickly go down what this is all about. I want to make sure everybody can hear me still. Hey, what's up, Gloria? Sound is for suckers. So cool to see you guys, man. So anyways, I wrote this article over at the michaelehline.com. It's my personal blog where I like to muse about stuff that's interesting to me. And, you know, we know that people call people who don't trust the government sovcits, or the government calls people that sovcits or sovereign citizens. And especially people in the government, the federal government, they call them that. And, you know, when you get pulled over by cops and stuff, they'll call you, look at me, guys. My camera's just jacked up, so forgive me. We're not going to do too much camera stuff today on me. That's about the best I can give you. But anyways, people are characterized who believe, a lot of people who just believe in the traditional Constitution or Bill of Rights as like sovcits. That's like a thing that there's like whole like YouTube pages dedicated to this name. And it's just a name that people use to sort of characterize people that they don't like, you know, I think, to a large degree. And a lot of it stems from this District of Columbia Organic Act. Now, in the sidebar, can anybody help me out here and tell me what they want to add to this? Yeah, we all trust the government, right? Hey, Gloria. So IMA says that it's the repeal of the Washington and Georgetown charters, and that's true because DC was, I guess, land donated from a bunch of different states, but they used to call them countries back then as well. States donated some of their territory, and eventually it was incorporated under like a municipal charter, they say. But some people say that municipal charter was really a corporate charter that made all of us property of Washington District of Columbia because of the 13th Amendment and then the 14th Amendment afterwards. Sort of like made us all that, and we lost our status as sovereign under the original Constitution and Bill of Rights. But then there's another group of people who say that there were actually two different constitutions, and the original Constitution that was in the original lowercase, initial uppercase and then lowercase was replaced by one that's all uppercase, which signifies corporation. And they also say the titles of nobility portions were removed from that. And correct me if I'm wrong in the sidebar, guys. I'm trying to present, what I know. I'm not trying to be like some super duper expert, but I know more than most because I want to present a fair side of the story here. Let me see here. Can of Red Bull. Easy Watchdog needs a can of Red Bull. Got to do some auditing out there. But anyways, this is where a lot of this stuff stems from. And basically what happened is there's actually a sovereign citizen's handbook out there. And the argument that they have is that the U.S. went bankrupt under Roosevelt and was taken over by banks to bail us out. And they believe that the Organic Act of 1871 set the stage. And what they're saying is that the new corporate constitution without the titles of nobility provision, and correct me if I'm wrong, and then the 14th and 13th and 14th Amendments changed the character of us being our own, sovereign people into chattel of a corporate or admiralty type of a government operating under the law of the sea, sort of like the vice admiralty courts that operated in the colonies, when the British wanted to subjugate the colonies for not wanting to pay the taxes for all the war debt that the king had incurred. And so now people call, like their detractors call them sovsits if they believe this. And there are a lot of people who have similar views who don't endorse this. And let me just take a look to make sure you can all hear me. Alan's coming on at 8 o'clock, I think, tonight. So this is going to be not a super long one. And that's going to be a different show. We're going to talk about the Second Amendment and how it may, the Ninth Circuit is looking at least in this one particular case, extending the right back to a convicted felon, but it's sort of a one-off case, and so it's sort of an as-applied sort of argument, but still it could set the stage for other arguments that are similar, other people with a similar case. So that'll be good. Right, that's what. So Mr. DLRU, that's the argument on the. Okay, so there's a couple arguments. Like one of the arguments is a lot of the sovereigns, there's different types of sovereigns from what I understand. And again, I want you to correct me if you think I'm wrong, because I don't know it all, but I think I know a little bit, and you can give me a bunch of ones if you think I kind of sound like I know a little bit, because I think I've done my research here. There is one group of people who believe that that new constitution replaced our old one, and we're no longer living under that old one. And the Bill of Rights and all that stuff, none of that applies. We're all still under the Declaration or even the Articles of Confederation. And so that's one group. And there's another one that believes we are under the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, and that everything's just working in derogation. And the argument is that bankers eventually came in and took over, and the king basically re-secured a stranglehold over the financial system of the United States. And that's why what I wanted to talk about is how all this happened, how all this came down. But before, there was the president would appoint people to sort of oversee the district. It was like 10 miles square. That was pretty much all it was supposed to be. And again, I want comments in the sidebar, guys, because I want to, but this is like an evergreen project for me, because I'm going to have Brett Pike come back on with Max Bonilla, and we're going to talk more about this. But what I want to do is compile data and information and other opinions. I put a lot of stuff in my article. I think it's pretty cool. A lot of the research that I found took me a lot of time. But what ended up happening, there's like a timeline that I put here. And basically it talks about national debt. And the sovereigns are saying that the creation of DC, the way that it is now, led towards more national debt. And it's in my article. Talks about the Organic Act. It talks about the different ideologies, modern law perspectives. So I'm just trying, I want you guys to sort of share with me what you think. A lot of people say that this was the way that the king basically started the War of 1812, and the War of 1812 led to the recreation ultimately of another national bank or several national banks and more debt. And that I guess there is some evidence, and that's what I want to gather. There are some court cases that I cite: Tyler v. Judges, MacArthur and M., Stoutenberg v. Hennick, a bunch of cases there. Let me take a look. Hey, Ralph, cool seeing you, man. That's awesome. Yeah. So, look, I know the writing's not that big, but you get the idea. So basically, sovereigns are saying that this is one of the things that makes all of us property of a incorporeal state, and that it all started with this. And they're saying because it was in an incorporation, but then the other side says, well, it's a municipal government, just like a city would be a municipal government. So I cover just different things that both sides argue back and forth in here. I just want to know what you think, because, you know, I do see that there are some really interesting arguments. And if you don't, I mean, that's up to you not to think that, but it does seem like there are some interesting and compelling arguments to some of these ideas when you really look deep into it and you read the court cases. But when you look at stuff in Wikipedia and newspaper articles and stuff by the mainstream press, you get a really skewed point of view. And so I guess, you know, I encourage you all to do your own research. But I especially wanted to hear what like Ralph or anybody else had to say in the sidebar. And I'm just going to look over here and try to answer any questions or just try to present for argument what anyone else has to say. Let me see here. Easy Watchdog does not want to watch this. He's bored. He wants me to be out there doing audit videos. But I just think this is really important because I want to teach you guys how to become lawyers without law school. And this is a really good foundation because no matter what side you're on when it comes to the Organic Act, if you read the court cases and you look at the history behind this, you'll see that my mic just went mute. You'll see that the side that both sides have some compelling arguments maybe that they can both make. But if you sit there and just reject an argument that is being made by modern people, for example, parts of these acts were never even supposed to be lawful or weren't lawful, and the connection that it has to the creation of a lot of administrative agencies that might be like apparently domiciled in like Puerto Rico to be able to be outside. I don't understand how all this stuff works, and that's why I was hoping some of you people would come in and sort of help me with this. Let me take a look at, see what else BZ has to say over here. I'll try to get my camera fixed before the next show later today. I wouldn't be a lawyer if they paid me, Mikey B says, look. I wouldn't be a lawyer if they paid me. Yeah, I'm beginning to think that with all this paperwork that I have to deal with. Man, it's just unbelievable, guys. So let me see here. I am green. Yeah, so so Jim, I have this like big green aura around me and I'm trying to figure out how to fix it. Somehow or another, my camera got screwed up. Super duper not happy. Yeah, you know, Mikey B, my dad really did not like judges. And he used to think they were so pompous and full of themselves. He did not want me to be a lawyer. He wanted me to take over his construction company. And I just really wanted to be a lawyer. I really loved history. And that's what I'm trying to do is teach you guys legal history, history of the law, and you know where these arguments come from. So you're not just out there wondering. So this seems to be the nexus of where the sovereign people in this country diverge in history from modern society, and their arguments are in the article that I wrote, and there are more. There are other. So look, there are a lot of really great videos that talk about how people became incorporeal property with uppercase letters, or uppercase everything. but I haven't been able to find because I'm a lawyer, and I don't have a lot of time to do all the research. I'm hoping you guys are going to help me on this one because I want to get the research out there for everybody. Because I've got to start already for us here, but I want to see some cases that are on point that talk about or show a nexus from DC to these banking institutions, and other than just somebody saying it in a video, because I have not seen a lot of citations or authoritative, links or anything back to sources that would validate. And I want to get validation because I want to be taken seriously when I go and argue my case, because that's what we're trying to do. We want to argue our case and get the right information out there. I hope you guys all love my green background. What an embarrassment, right? Hey, Brick, what's going on? Yeah. Hey. So, I don't know. What are your thoughts, guys? We have this argument that this changed everything. The Organic Act of 1871. They're saying that the country was just racked with debt from the War of 1812. There was an economic recession right before the war there. Congress didn't want to let the National Bank renew its charter. That's when 4,500 British troops came in and burned the White House and the Congress, burned some of our founding documents, and that it was General Jackson that led the way in the Battle of New Orleans and won a string of American military disasters. He won, he beat it back. And, he's the one that, like the modern college people hate the most, right? Like the modern academic types, they hate Jackson. But he's the one who paid off our national debt. So a lot of people are saying that, well, that's the reason why, because people don't like him, because nobody wants, the bankers don't want good information out there about people that believed in freedom and paying off debt, because they want debt slavery, right? That's what they want. That's what people say. I mean, give me some ones if you think that's the argument that most people make about this, that it's debt slavery. And they're saying that's tied somehow to the creation of this expanded jurisdiction, and that this was done, the only way it was passed at all is because the Republicans packed all of the Southern legislatures with unelected carpetbaggers and then like newly freed slaves, like to sort of like thumb their nose at the Southern states. They would pack all their legislatures with like newly freed slaves and carpetbaggers, like people from the North who didn't like the Southerners, and put them in their state houses, and they got to vote to enact the 14th and the 13th Amendment. That's what people say. I mean, I want you to do your own research. I'm going to look in the sidebar. Give me a bunch of ones if you guys think that that's what the argument is. I want to hear what you guys have to say. I'm looking here. I know it's not real time, but I'm looking because I want to invite discussion on this, guys, because this is kind of important, because I don't want to get this wrong. But at least now I hope Ralph sees that I know to use the word sovereign, and I just refer to people who believe in the divergence at the time of, probably even before the Organic Act of 1871, would probably prefer themselves to be called sovereigns. And the way this all came down is these people voted to be able to, as part of this, to expand DC, these unelected representatives did that, and that sort of fostered in the Federal Reserve later on in a fiat currency. And now they're saying that we're 75 trillion in debt in a financial depression, basically, that's just sort of just kept from falling over by by fiat currency. That's the argument. And anybody tell me if I'm wrong or if that's a conspiracy theory, because I even asked him there, is this a conspiracy theory? I do a timeline in here about how it repealed the individual charters of Washington and Georgetown and established a new territorial government for DC. And so what most people say is what that really means is that it established, hey, I'm the green man today, guys. I don't know what happened to my camera. It's terrible. What they're saying is that fostered in a new municipal government to oversee that area, like 10 miles or whatever it was. Eventually it was expanded to 28. I can't remember exactly, guys. I mean, correct me, help me out with comments. Tell me if I'm wrong. But there, a lot of historians are saying that this was really just to try and create a municipal government for DC, sort of like the municipal government that runs the DC police, which has, the DC has a mayor. They're not really a state, but they sort of have sort of a rule because it's just the seat of government. It's not supposed to be a state. Never was. The residents there were just citizens of the United States. And if they moved to another state, they would be considered citizens of that state under that state's constitution as well. That was the idea, I believe. Tell me if I'm wrong, BZ Watchdog, because I know you really love this kind of stuff. Let's see here. Yeah, Stacy, I know people like that. I've known a lot of people like that, and it's sometimes if they live in the right area with a good sheriff, nobody will bother them. That's been my experience. But it's usually a sheriff, like a local area, remote, and they just respect their constituency more. There's a lot to be said about not having a lot of sheep out there voting and just having locals voting who want to be left alone and have freedom. So I would think about that. Let me see here. Give me a bunch of ones if you know what I mean. Like if you live in a remote, cool area where you have a cool sheriff, and they're out there. Trust me. Go to Montana, you'll find them. Probably still even in areas like in eastern parts of Oregon or Washington. I'll bet you they have stuff like that. Even in Northern California, you're going to find pockets of people who still believe in freedom, liberty, and want to be left alone. Collect their own water without getting thrown in jail, that kind of stuff, right? Let's see here. Take a look. Yeah, I will, BZ. Now, so there's so I just saw BZ talking about being this one guy named Hines. Yeah, okay, we'll get to that too, Ralph. This one guy named Hines, who is the closest thing you can get to be a sovereign citizen, and he's got a channel. And I guess what I'm trying to do is not say sovereign citizen. I'm calling anybody who believes in this ideology of like freedom and liberty. I think generally, as a general rule, it's safe to say that they're sovereign because these people believe that they're sovereign. And, it's funny because when I was growing up, I was always taught by my parents and motivational speakers to be sovereign, like Zig Ziglar and all those great motivational speakers. You have to be sovereign over yourself and your family, and you have to demonstrate that you're going to be a good provider and be a good defender. And now it's like, if you say those words, it's like, society's painted you to be a whack job. So that'll segue into Ralph's thing about the District of Columbia. It's just like Vatican City and the City of London. Okay, so I did that research, right? But I have not found enough authoritative sources, and I'm sure most of them are not going to be found. They get buried for sure. You find them on page 5 billion if you're lucky. I know what's going on with the algorithms. But if you've got stuff, I want to see it, even if you've got to PDF it and send it to me, because I want to build a repository, a suppository. I want to build a repository of information on this and weave together the different philosophies, because already I've identified two different types of sovereign belief systems. One believes that we operate under the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. The other one believes that all that is gone and there's a new Constitution that was put in place once DC was incorporated under this Organic Act. And then academics modernly say it was just a municipal charter, basically, to make DC like any other city or count, like to give it its ability to have a mayor and stuff like that. Is this making sense? Give me a bunch of ones if this makes sense, or am I the only person who can't say, okay, give me a bunch of ones if I'm not boring you, unless you're BZ, because he's definitely going to give me a bunch of twos if I'm boring you. But this is really important that we lay this foundation, because I want people to understand when they're out there trash talking or, trying to cast aspersions on people for their belief systems, that they should take a look at the Organic Act of 1871, because I believe that this is a pivotal. And now Brett Pike and Max Bonilla, that young guy, he's like 19 years old. He's a historian and he's also a journalist. He's the guy who audits Gavin Newsom, follows him around with a camera. It's funny. He's a really great guy. He's funny. They're going to break down the different sections of the Organic Act and trace how they apply and the tentacles that followed with them. Now, ultimately, there was a bunch of stuff that went on with the Organic Act. Some people argue that it was repealed by the Organic Act of 1878. But basically, the main argument that you'll get on Wikipedia and social media people, and fact checkers, they're all going to say that it was just a municipal government for Washington, D.C. But Ralph is saying there's other stuff going on. There's that DC is really just basically like a vicarious part of the Vatican, and that the Vatican financial system that a lot of people say they sort of took over from the Knights Templar and stuff like that, or made them stronger from it. Ultimately is behind all this. They say that there was the creation of the revenue service here. Sends like 70% of its, I guess, whatever it brings in to the royals. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, if I've got this wrong, Ralph, or any of you guys who are more well-read on this, because I've done a lot of research. I just don't have it all memorized. Just that I've been in basically like seminars for the last few weeks, and I know you guys are counting on me to bring you guys interesting information as part of your legal education, and so I'm trying to do this whenever I can. Yeah, Ralph, the Organic Act of 1871, that's right. Hey, buenas noches, senora. Yeah, and then so here's the problem, is that there are just people who believe that regardless of what Constitution or whatever kind of rules or laws that we live under, they just believe that they're sovereign, and that's just how it is, and they don't really care about when it happened or how it happened, whether it was under the U.S. Constitution or whether it was anything. They would still have the same belief system. Whether they lived in the Soviet Union, they would think the same exact way. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ralph. It's not about being an American that makes you a free man. It's who you are. It's who you are, who you were born to be, free, right? Isn't that the idea? I mean, let me see if I can get this camera better. Man, it's really bad. Camera sucks, guys. Yeah. All right. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this boring episode, but at least we got 35 people in here. Hey, look, at least I know for sure people who join these podcasts really do want to learn some interesting, cool things. And hopefully you're learning some interesting and cool things. But But yeah, sovereignty, if you guys want to know. Hold on. What's up, BZ? BZ! I don't know what I'm going to do about this screen, man. This is terrible. I changed everything. I changed the lighting and everything, and now it looks like garbage. Well, anyways, let me see here. Let me see. Yep. Okay, Ralph, I'm going to pull up the Expatriation Act. Okay. Give me a bunch of ones if you want me to look up the Expatriation Act and read it, guys. Give me a bunch of ones. I want to see them. Throw them up there. I just really want to break down this. I want to break down all these different organic acts, but especially the 1871 Organic Act, and try to understand why it's being traced to the Vatican. That's what I'm trying to get, because I'm not, so far I have not found any kind of direct kind of evidence like I'd find in a freaking doggone, if I was doing an investigation in court or something, or a history book. But I know that stuff also gets buried. That's for sure. I mean, a lot of people don't even know about natural law or about John Locke and our Bill of Rights. And so that's one of the Yeah, gotcha. We don't have to hear him. I mean, national debt is the reason why we have so many problems, is what I was trying to say. And like by having, if we wouldn't have, the sovereigns and a lot of other people say, like strict constitutionalists say, that the national debt is the reason why we have all the problems that we have. And that's going to be the reason why we fall. And it's the reason why our educational system vilifies people like Andrew Jackson and Thomas Jefferson, because they wanted to have a debt-free society, which would have been great. I mean, look at your credit cards are like 20% or and more now. It's total debt slavery. You can't even really buy a house, people say. Tell me what you guys think. I mean, I want to see in the comments what you guys have to say about all this stuff. Let me see. We have sound now, don't we? Can you guys hear me or no? Okay, so we're good. It's like if I touch this microphone at all, there's no sound. All right. Big Willie, yeah, a lot of people say that. I just want, I want to hear what you guys have to say, and I want to get some information from you. But I did find that it was really interesting that the original way that it was run was that the President of the United States would appoint these like overseers, and they would look over. There were like municipal authorities, and they were appointed to look over DC. There was like a Board of Health, Board of Public Works. And ultimately, that's what ended up happening. It's just really, when you look at the history, it's really cool. But they're saying that ratification records, sovereigns say that ratification records were destroyed I guess these so the argument is somehow or another that the War of 1812 had to do with America having a debt-free currency and thumbing the nose at the Bank of England, and that the Bank of England already had their people inside the U.S. government because, you can buy off politicians, and they figured out a way to hoist their own national bank. And then guys like Andrew Jackson didn't like it, got rid of it. The British didn't like stuff like that happening, and that's led to a lot of wars because the idea is debt slavery, is to make everyone a debt slave. Give me a bunch of ones if that's what you guys, understand. If any of you guys have a better understanding of this, tell me if that's what it is. And I'm also looking for sources. I'm not looking to try to cast judgment or form any definite opinions because I totally get it that DC was made into a municipal corporation, but it's interesting that it has the same name as our national government, and it is true that when you have a municipal corporation, they even had municipal corporations during the colonial era. So I get that. So a lot of people, will say, well, it was a new thing to try and make us all slaves. But then if you're a purist, you'll say, well, yeah, but even the municipal corporations under the original charters were not right because they made you not sovereign. So that's what I'm hoping people like Ralph can help me answer. Yeah, BZ Watchdog. He's awesome. DC debt collection. Loving it. Right. Okay. So there you go. So Ralph says that Benjamin Franklin was a double agent. Now, there has been tell that he was involved in underground, like the equivalent of like adrenochrome clubs. And they did find one of his places where he lived in England. You can definitely find that. This is definitely a fact. I wouldn't tell you if I hadn't definitely double verified it, that he had, and Scott Wolter from History Channel would know this too, that under one of his homes, like in a dungeon or something like a cave, all these human bones and bone remains. And it was known that he used to go to those like orgies and stuff. So kind of like Epstein Island kind of thing. So what Ralph is saying, if that's true, we know that for generations and throughout the ancients, that was the way that you could turn people. If you were in government or a double agent, you could turn people. The KGB did it all the time with, gay agents, because back then especially, that was a big, big deal. Like you'd be ostracized from society. So, they would turn you with that. They could turn you and get you in bed and film it or whatever. So we know that that's definitely, so what Ralph is saying, wow, you might have something. As a lawyer and I look at evidence, that's definitely something that I would consider. I think that would be valuable. What do you guys think? Give me a bunch of ones if you think that would be valuable. And then, it looks like BZ and Wasn't Mad at You are good buddies, and I love having people in my chats that love hanging out. So so what does anybody else have to say here? Because I want someone to throw something. Okay. BZ Watchdog says that Lee Harvett Oswald was a double agent. And I'm assuming that Lee Harvett Oswald is like Lee Harvey Oswald. And I've heard that before. I've even heard that it wasn't even him, that it was just a total setup. And, I would love to see what those documents, the Kennedy assassination documents, what they really say. I think a lot of people think that it was the government, like LBJ had something to do with it, and maybe the mafia had something to do with it, but all of them seem to work together maybe. What do you guys think? You know, does anybody have any idea? I mean, man, there's so many different theories. It's hard for me to believe that somebody with, what kind of rifle was that? That was an old Italian World War One. Was it called a Mosin? What is a Mosin, an Italian one? What kind of rifle was that, guys? It had a scope on it. I mean, it might, yeah, was it like a 308 style round, like with those old European cartridges from World War One. They were pretty big, you know. take out an elephant with one of those things, man. A Carcano, is that what it, no, Carcano's a dog, isn't it? But I know it was Italian, yeah. Forbes knows nothing, yeah. But yeah, a lot of people say no way. And then I've seen that footage, you know, where it almost looks like the guy in the front seat's turning around and popping off a cap in him. That's wild. And I mean, back then, you know, they could lock down an area. They didn't have cell phones. It just blows my mind. What do you guys think? Don't you think it's weird that Trump wouldn't release them either? That, to me, that's weird. Like, why didn't he release those documents? I thought he said he was gonna. All right. Well, anyways, that's that. I just wanted to have you guys on. It's not going to be a long show tonight. I'm super tired, guys. I just haven't been around in a couple days. I'm going to be doing a show later on tonight. It's on my live stream thing there. If you go to my profile, I think it's at like 8 or 8:30. Now, Alan Beck, my appellate lawyer buddy, does Second Amendment, First Amendment rights cases. We're going to talk about, you know, people who are felons and they don't have their Second Amendment rights. Their Second Amendment rights are stripped away. And I have buddies who are Marines and stuff who got hit with some felonies and got their gun rights taken away. And so that, you know, they're calling me, you know, hey, Mike, check this out. So I wanted to talk with Alan about it. Now, Alan does jiu-jitsu class and he doesn't even get home, I don't think, until like late. So I can't promise you that he's going to be on like right when the show starts. But what I'll do is I'll set it up and I'll go over what's going on at the Ninth Circuit with the Second Amendment and convicted felons being able to have their gun rights. Some people say it's no good. Other people say, why not? They've served their debt to society. It's an unalienable right to be able to keep and bear arms. And, you know me, I just think that it, how long have I been on mute for? So some people say that if you, yeah, so some people say that if you've had a felony and it's not, and you're not a danger, even if you are a potential danger, you've served your debt to society. Yeah, I've heard that too, Ralph. Yeah. So Ralph's saying that the Bushes were involved in that, and I've heard that. I've heard that there's a connection there. There's definitely more than meets the eye, in my estimation, that is worthy of doing research, you know. And what do you guys think? I mean, I like doing this stuff with you. People can call me a conspiracy theorist or whatever, but I'm not casting judgment. I'm just asking questions because I want to understand why people have these beliefs from a position of good faith and not from a position of being a critic, because I want to understand it. And I want other people to understand it too. And I invite everybody to research the Organic Act of 1871 and not just look at Wikipedia, because that's like all, you know, government narrative, basically. It's not going to dig deep into these issues that guys like Ralph are talking about. You can start by looking at my article if you want. It's barely skims the surface, but it will provide a foundation for future discussions. And if you guys find flaws or issues, you tell me and I'll update it. I'll copy and paste your stuff right into this piece right here. But I hope that Ralph and other people see that, hopefully my mic is still on, that my idea here was that I think I understand now. The idea is that there are a group or a set of society who believe that they're simply sovereign. And within that set are subsets. Some believe that they've always been sovereign and it has nothing to do with any of our founding documents. Others believe that they're only sovereign if the original Constitution is in effect with the correct lowercase u United States, only initial uppercase, but not all uppercase document is used. And then there are like people like me. I believe in natural law, and I believe that the Bill of Rights was designed and the Declaration of Independence were inspired by natural law, with people like John Locke, and that we all are born with unalienable rights. And so I probably fall somewhere in the middle there. But as a lawyer, I think that I can do a lot of good because I know how the law really works in real life. And we can all have esoteric views that might even be true, but in this society would be deemed esoteric, right? And my goal is to educate and make sure that you all stay safe and be able to remain as sovereign as you can, because being sovereign in a jail cell isn't as good as being sovereign out in the jungle or in the forest, looking at the stars, and just enjoying yourself, roasting a hot dog or whatever, fresh kill, whatever you're out there doing. In my opinion, so that's what I think. But, the idea here is that we need to bring people together to be able to discuss these issues without casting aspersions upon each other and figure this stuff out, because, we're $75 trillion in debt, and a lot of the things that our founding fathers wanted for us, like a debt-free society, are looking really good to me right now. I don't know about you guys, but wouldn't that be nice? Instead, they're trying to put us in like 10-minute cities or whatever they call them and treat us like communist China treats their people. I don't want that for us. I mean, we have a really amazing system in place that at least has the ability to go back to a system that could be a better version of what was intended. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't like the idea of human slavery. That's not a good thing. It's never good. Now, but I get it. It was the only way they were able to unite against the king. Some of the states had slaves, other ones didn't, and that they did that, and that was worked out, unfortunately, later in a war that resulted in a lot of unconstitutional things like the suspension of the habeas corpus. Now, what I want you to do is take a look here at the difference between a municipal corporation and a private corporation, because the people who say that the sovereigns don't know what they're talking about are saying that this Organic Act just created a municipal corporation like the city of Huntington Beach. It's created by like a state government. But, but here the difference is the municipal corporation was not created by a state government. It was created by a 10-mile square district, right, that controlled by the President of the United States, who had deputies sort of overseeing it, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, Ralph, or anybody. Hopefully you can still hear me too. Right. DZ is always fun, man. He just tears it up in the comments. Sheesh. So the difference a lot of people say is that, well, that's true, but it's the president's own municipal corporation, and he was owned by these bankers, right? So these are the arguments, okay? Like I want to give you both sides, and instead of saying everybody's crazy. And then the private corporation is a legal entity formed by individuals or entities to conduct businesses. So they're saying, well, this is different. It's not a private corporation. But then you have these other people who are saying, well, what about those vice admiralty courts that the king left in place that the federal districts were based on after the king pulled out, like the vice admiralty courts our exclusive federal jurisdiction courts, right? I mean, that's the argument. And I did a video on the Vice Admiralty court system, how the king was using those to get rid of the trial by jury to force people to pay his war debt. And that's how most of the debts are incurred, as most people know now, is it's the military industrial complex, which has been going on throughout time. A lot of people are saying that's what's going on right now over there, like, laundering, getting rid of old equipment so we can use tax dollars to get new stuff over here. Keep it going, right? And then get a kickback. A lot of people say that, and that's been going on forever. Give me a bunch of ones if you know that that's the case. Hey, all right. And by the way, guys, BZ has been out doing some amazing stuff. I'm not going to disclose what it is, but I can just tell you that he's just getting better and better. And not just with his approach and the way he's doing stuff, but with his editing. His video editing is just superb, and he's doing it with his phone. So I think that if anybody wants to learn how to do good video editing, BZ should be doing videos on how to teach auditors and cop watchers how to do quick edits on their handhelds. He's killing it, man. Let's see if there's any questions here. You know, it just amazes me there's actually 36 people in here who care about this. That blows my mind. Out of all the people in the world who are on YouTube, they actually give a crap about this. Now, I also get into the way that the powers that these municipal corporations normally have, and normally they have limited sovereignty. So that's why a lot of people are saying, well, there's no way that DC was used to create all these new tax systems that applied to all citizens. But then others say, well, wait a minute, the 14th Amendment and the 13th Amendment are based upon this municipal corporation here. And even if it's not a private corporation, that's not what our founding fathers intended. They never intended for us to be citizens of this district, this municipal district. Now, give me a bunch of ones if that's the right thing. You'll see what I do sometimes, guys. I'll often do a conversation and come back because I know this is a live stream and you don't want to get a lecture. I've always been good at that. Like, people like to talk about stuff. So give me something, guys. What's going on? Yeah, Stacy, woohoo. Hey, give me a bunch of OTVOs for Chile, and I'll make sure to get the word out to them that you're thinking about them. I've heard that too about the 14th, and I've heard that it wasn't properly done because it was voted in with unelected representatives, and that made it unconstitutional ab initio, which means from the very beginning. Now, don't forget also, I'm going to be in Conroe, Texas, and I will send, I'll do a video too tomorrow, and I'll send BZ Watchdog a flyer. Maybe he can put it up on one of his streams too. I'm going to be in Conroe, Texas, which is Houston, and it's going to be for the Paul Ehline Memorial Motorcycle Ride. So the Leathernecks Motorcycle Club is going to be there, and we're just going to have some fun at a bar there. It's going to be a family event, so you can bring your girlfriend, your kids up until 10 o'clock, and I'm going to make best efforts to live stream it. If I had BZ with me, it would be an easy deal to do, but I don't have I'm going to be mingling, and I need help, but it would be so cool to be able to live stream this event. I wouldn't even care if it was live streamed on BZ's channel, just to get it out there and get the event some exposure, because it's really cool. These guys are out there trying to help me get this legislation put through to get these benefits for all these veterans who got exposed to all this cancerous garbage on these military bases. The only ones who are getting anything are the ones at Camp Lejeune and the stuff that was overseas, but not people that were at El Toro, Tustin Helicopter Station, or the regular El Toro MCAS, and even some Army bases, and not just the ones here in California, but in Hawaii, people, and even the local residents, they get sick, water table, like getting like 10 fingers on the same hand, or, like fingers growing out of your shoulder. And that, my dad died from Agent Orange from Vietnam. He had this horrible tumor on his chest. So we started this foundation to try and help the families, because when the husband passes away, it's usually the wife. She's left behind to take care of these people, her kids and her husband, and then he dies, and then there's the VA stops all the benefits. So at least under this PACT Act and stuff, some people were able to sue for damages. So the wives that were left behind and the kids would be able to sue to get some money for the death of their dads. Because let's face it, it's usually men that are dying. I'm not disparaging women at all, but it's usually the males that overwhelmingly that were exposed to these toxic chemicals, either in combat or just even while active duty or even reservists. Now we know that those water buffaloes they had us drink out of, like when I was at Camp Pendleton, the stuff that they clean them with caused cancer. And so we know that a lot of these guys are getting cancer, and those water buffaloes are used all over the place. Give me a bunch of ones if you guys know what I'm talking about. Another one of my buddies, radio guy, was Anglico, and then he went MARSOC. He said that these radio things have caused all these cancerous tumors on his back, and that it's known in the military that these backpack radios cause cancer. And now we know that these Wi-Fi towers, like these 5 Wi-Fi, whatever, they're causing problems with people. They're building these towers next to homes, and it's causing problems with people's health. There's a report, it's on my website, on my law firm website, about a cow farmer in France where this Wi-Fi was interfering with his cows and causing them to die, or not doing something where they wouldn't make milk. A lot of weird stuff, and he got like a court order to get it to stop. So that's kind of how that goes. And so we're going to be out there, and there's going to be a motorcycle ride. So anybody who rides Harleys, I don't think they're going to want any rice burners in this thing. These are like Marines and Navy SEALs who were corpsmen who are going to be attending the event. And so they are bikers. So, don't try to pop off, because it's not going to be good for anybody. But they're really good guys, and they really care about veterans. And they helped me when the government shut down the economy and wouldn't give my dad a proper burial memorial ceremony. So we were able to go out to a gun range and have a proper fire team, and to have, an honor guard. And I even was able to bring in a Scottish bagpiper. There's a video of it that I'll show you guys as well. It was really, really cool, man. And so now we do this thing where we try to help out vets and, people that have cancer and PTSD, because my dad was jacked up from PTSD from Vietnam, from doing 2 tours over there at all the hottest fire bases. He was there with all the hottest stuff as a 0848, dialing in those cannons, man. And those fire bases were constantly being shelled. So he was a stationary target unless he went out on forward observation missions, which sometimes he did, because they lost so many forward observers. And, because my dad was good at math and knew how to do their job, because, his job was like the high intelligence, 0848s, they're the smart guys in the artillery. Give me a bunch of ones if you're a Marine and you know what an 0848 is. But yeah, so he was getting shelled. He said they were bringing in like 1,000 rounds an hour on Khe Sanh during Tet. He was there, And how cool is that to know your dad, yeah. Really cool. Oh, you got a Harley, man. Yeah, hell yeah. Harleys can come, Indians. What else? What's the other one? The Harley, the Indian, the Victory. That was Gunny's favorite. Just American bikes. I mean, come on, guys. Look, a lot of these guys in the club, I've seen them, but, they ride street bikes, but they don't ride them with, with their brothers in a gaggle. I don't even know if that's proper protocol, like for a motorcycle club, because it goes back from World War II, there's a really great book that if you guys want to really understand, you young people who don't get it, don't understand the history and the traditions, which is sad you don't understand it, but there's this really great book. It's called Prisoners of the Japanese. And it talks about how they just butchered American POWs and tortured us and treated us worse than anything you could ever imagine. And that was just really terrible. And so that tradition, because most bikers were military, they would buy surplus U.S. bikes and they wouldn't buy Japanese bikes. And that's just a tradition that's carried on, and it's out of respect for the people that came before them. And I think it's a really cool tradition, to be honest. I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but I like stuff like that. I think traditions that's why my son's in judo. And I think those traditions that judo in particular has, as well as the way the life goals, the way it formed you as a youth to be an honorable person, but yet to also to be gentle yet dangerous at the same time. All really great qualities for a man to have, and chicks really dig it, right, ladies? Give me a bunch of ones if chicks dig guys that are really confident, can handle their business, but also gentle. I think they used to call them gentlemen back in the day. They used to say that all free men ought to be armed. All gentlemen should be armed. Free men and gentlemen should be armed. They're just part of being a gentleman. So you could actually help someone in distress, like a damsel. Yeah. Yeah, Filipinos like Japanese bikes, scooters. I like Vespas, me personally. When I was growing up, I liked punk rock, and then my neighbors were into mod and ska. So, of course, they all wanted to have Vespas because that's what they do. They ride around on Vespas, which is pretty cool. But, the Harleys are just really great, cool bikes, man. It's iconic, but then again, the Indians, to me, if I get a bike, I'll probably get an Indian if I get another one. Yeah, Triumphs are pretty badass. I think so. Now, I hear that the problem with Triumphs and Indians is maintenance. There's Harley dealerships, way more Harley dealerships than anything else. And Harleys are, in my estimation, really great motorcycles. And what they represent is really cool too. That's what, what do they say? When there's too many laws, I just become an outlaw. The biker mentality. It's so William Wallace. It's so John Wayne. It's so cool, right? Yeah. So, all right. So, anyways, that's all I really have. I got to go do some tutoring tonight with my kids, and I just wanted to check in, and hopefully I answered some questions or piqued your interest a little bit about these different ideologies and where they come from, and their divergence from mainstream society started. The nexus of that would have been the Organic Act of 1871. At least that's what a lot of them, I'm sure there are other sets and subsets that have different points of view, but no matter what, this is definitely part of that ideology and that belief system. And I think that it deserves an opportunity for you to take a look at the historic documents and read the actual act, because if anything, it's a really cool exercise that you'll be able to learn about the forming of a municipal corporation. And if you can look at other surrounding events and court cases that I've cited in my article here, you can see what other people said about it. And I think that it'll give you a better perspective on the misinformation that you'll see on sites like, Wikipedia, where they just give you a really skewed modern academic. Anybody who goes against this is clearly an extremist. I don't go down that road. I think that if people are trying to suppress things, that we need to look at it even more Give me a bunch of ones if you think that too. Like when they were putting all the cardboard over, when people were trying to see what they were doing in there in the last election, they were putting cardboard so people couldn't see in. I mean, that says a lot, man. I mean, that's pretty scary. When I see stuff like that, that makes me not trust our institutions, like someone's up to something. Give me a bunch of ones if you think that. So he won't let me on his channel. Who won't, Jim? Who won't let you on their channel? Somebody says they won't let Jim's Forbes on their channel. But I'm really super happy that you guys all showed up, especially, you know, Ralph. And now I got some people actually joined as subscribers, and I really super duper appreciate that because I was able to show my wife, like, because she's like, what are you doing, man? You're always doing these YouTubes, and that's not making a living, you know. And I say, well, it's not making a living, but look, you know, at least it's covering my time. So she's cool about it now. Super awesome of you guys to support me because I really like bringing people on like Max and Brett Pike. So guys, this is the plan before I go. We're going to, Brett Pike and I and Max Bonilla. And by the way, Brett just had a newborn baby. So he's probably going to be not available for a little while. He's a homesteader. So I would imagine they had natural childbirth. And the guy is just, to me, what a stud. He's got a bunch of kids. He's got a homeschooling company where he teaches American history and goes back and, you know, talks about the creation of the American education system and just really cool stuff. And we're going to have him on, and we're going to break down the Organic Act of 1871 bit by bit. And we're going to try and tie it to sovereign belief systems and to try to show the connection. And that's why I was hoping guys that would come in here and share some sources with me, because I'm having a hard time finding stuff on. So like when I do a search on Google for something like, you know, that supports our position, which, because I'm trying to support both sides, right? Because so far it's all just well, sovereigns, terrible, blah, right? So if I do a search, I might have to go to page 5,000 on Google to finally find something that supports even close or remotely close to that argument that's being made, like a nexus to show me a connection. So I'm not seeing that. Yeah, that's right, Brick. At the end of all this law stuff, the men handle business. Well, you got that right. That's how it should be anyways, right? That's what makes the difference. Yeah, Mountain Man, and I need to come on your show too. I told you I would. Just keep in mind, guys, that I'm super busy as a lawyer. I have right now a lot of active files that I'm working on, and I haven't been able to come on as much. And I'm going to be in Texas, so I'm leaving. I'm not going to be able to visit Chile. And after that, I think I have some mediations in Long Beach. So I'm going to be just flying all over the place. But if somebody wants to come to this thing on the 18th and they can help me live stream, you can live stream it from your own channel. I don't care. I'm not looking for any kind of, I just want to promote the Leathernecks Peacemaker chapter and the brothers there and all the people who show up to support the vets and try to raise some money and get the local Congress, senators, mayors on board to help me push this legislation to help these people who suffered from all these weird diseases they're getting from exposure to all this crap in the military that they put in our water and our food, you know, in the drinking supply, those Buffalo water carriers, all these guys getting sick, dying like my dad, you know, definitely, you know. And then let's just see here real quick. And then, by the way, tonight I have another show. I think it's at 8:30, guys. Take a look on my, does anybody know what time my show is tonight? I'm trying to get Alan. So Alan Beck told me as soon as he's done with jiu-jitsu, he's a black belt. As soon as he's done with jiu-jitsu, he's going to come and he's going to pop in to the stream. And I think that's going to be around 8:30. That's going to be a quick one. And that has to do with the Ninth Circuit and a case where it looks like in this limited situation anyways, a felon should have the right to have his Second Amendment rights restored. But Alan thinks that a wrench may be thrown in and it may go en banc and then may be basically stripped away again, because we know the Ninth Circuit has a tradition of not supporting what we consider to be Second Amendment rights. They have a completely different view on the Second Amendment, which is more in line with what you would see on like a modern college campus. And so let's see here. Yeah, I know it's getting late, buddy, but it'll be a fun one, and I will record it. And in the meantime, I'll try to get my camera situation squared away because I don't like this green weirdness. Totally unsat. But, oh, yeah, it will. Yeah, it'll go on. Yeah. So, and I like it that, you know, there are some people that join my stream who seem like they know what they're talking about. And I really do appreciate that because a lot of people don't really, they just hear stuff that they heard on someone's channel and they'll come over and want to, you know, make a bunch of arguments, but that's not, I'm not here to do that. You know, I'm just here to try to help you guys understand what the law is. So I'm going to do that. We'll do, and again, thanks for liking and subscribing. And then, okay, so Steve Z, I see this guy's face a lot. I don't know if it's the same guy, but if it is, you know, it seems like we've had some pretty cool arguments. And he's kind of a no-nonsense guy and definitely doesn't cave to anyone's point of view. So I kind of like that if it's the same dude. Well, okay. So Steve says that it's hard to find because look, Steve, you should come on sometime as a guest. We should have you, me, and BZ Watchdog because I think he probably thinks more like you, and we could have some fun with it. But I want to do more research because there are some things that did happen that I've seen with my own eyes that I see that they're trying to cover up that really bother me, and it makes me want to question other things. So when I get lied to by my politicians and my elected representatives, and I'm being told that I'm a conspiracy theorist, then I find out later that I wasn't a conspiracy theorist. It puts into question everything that I've been told, the entire narrative, especially as a lawyer and somebody who has kids, because I want to make sure that before I leave this earth that I leave it in a better place for them, because that's normal for what a dad's going to want to do. Give me a bunch of ones if you think that's normal. I'm not trying to do anything special here. Just doing what a normal dad who's, you know, like would, I think you're supposed to do, right? Like, so anyways, are you guys still there? Because it looked like I got bounced out for a second. Maybe it was Big Brother. BZ called you a woman. What the heck? Well, it's a courier person. I just can't believe you guys would do that because James Forbes, from what I've seen, kind of reminds me of someone who's probably been in the military. Let me see. Let me take a look at this. Pretty sure he's got camis on. Got a camouflage cover. I know it's civilian, but still. BZ, how dare you? Drop and give me 20 right freaking now there, you. BZ, give me, drop, out. All right. All right, so like Steve, there are dozens of channels that will give you a class for $150. Now, Steve, that is something that is disconcerting to me. Is I have, as a youngster, I went to a lot of those kinds of classes, you know, where they have like, call it a seminar, and they give you a bunch of handouts. And a lot of the stuff is really compelling. And then in a group environment, it catches like wildfire. And as a lawyer, though, I've really learned how to do a lot of research and to dig deeper into things. And sometimes I find out that some of the stuff is totally baseless, but other times I find out that it has merit. And so I guess I'm just inviting people to help me do additional research to understand more the connection between the Organic Act of 1871 and its connection with the so-called sovereign movement, right? Because I would like to build a repository of information so we can just all have it in one place. Because even the stuff that you like, especially the stuff you see from like the FBI websites and all that. It's all just skewed. It's all like ADL or Southern Poverty Law Center, like far left narrative. So you can't really trust that. So for me, I want there to be like a neutral sort of like, this is the information, you decide, but I'm going to let both sides have their say. There's plenty of information that's anti. I mean, it's pretty much 99% of everything you find. That's easy to find. But the stuff that's pro, where is this stuff? Let's get it out there. Let's filter it. Let's look at it. And then let's argue both sides, and I could have, you could come on, Steve. I mean, I don't care that if you're not a lawyer or whatever. I mean, that doesn't bother me. It's not a prerequisite to be able to argue. Some really good debaters that aren't lawyers, better than lawyers. Yeah, so I don't know. So Steve's saying, I guess he checked out one of these guys. Look, I've seen some of these guys who kick butt, and a lot of it has to do with the jurisdiction you're in. Like I said, if you have a cool sheriff, things are just different in some places. The problem is that I want it to be, for everyone to have an equal shake at their individual rights and freedom. And that's the whole point. And I'm dragging, guys. I worked all weekend. I rearranged my office, and as you can see, my video sucks. I don't know what happened. The lighting's not as good as it was before. Super embarrassed about this, but I'm going to try to fix it for the next one that we do about Second Amendment rights and felons having their Second Amendment rights restored. A lot of people think that they never should have been taken away. Once you serve your debt to society, you should have your Second Amendment rights restored. And so we're going to talk about that and what the Ninth Circuit's going to do. It's not getting a whole lot of attention, and it's super important because a lot of people are falsely imprisoned in this country. And we have a prison industrial complex that thrives off of keeping people locked up. And I think it's really bad news. And I think that we as individuals should be fighting against that. I mean, whether you have somebody in jail now or someone who's been in jail, that it's unfair and that there's a lot more damage that gets done to you than is needed in many cases. They should not have nonviolent people mixed with violent people in jails. It's not fair. It's not safe. And it makes people into predators. It makes people with PTSD, gives people PTSD. It's not right. So, yeah, Mama Lion. And Wanda, this is another argument that a lot of people make. The traffic tickets are unlawful. Many people say that the vehicle code was really just a commercial code intended for commercial vehicles. And that is one of the arguments people make to say, well, that must mean that we're really commerce because that was the purpose of the vehicle code. It wasn't for safety. It was to control people and raise revenue. That's what they say. So there's a lot of things that I want to talk about with you guys, hoping we can boost up the audience. We got like 42 people in here tonight, which was pretty cool. I know I'm not chilly. I don't have video of me running around, filming police and stuff, but I really do want to educate my core follower group of subscribers so they get a better idea of what both sides are saying. And then also I invite all of you to check out all of my shorts because I try to do little like 30-second, 1-minute shorts about different issues like what is a tort, what are legal defenses, what is a civil case, what is a criminal case, and you can ask me to make a new one for you about a different issue if you're interested, but take a look at my shorts. If anybody can volunteer time to help me edit some of these lives into shorts, I could use somebody to help me because I'm really overwhelmed. And if anybody wants to come on as a guest, reach out to BZ Watchdog if you've got something that I think is going to be helpful and we can work together. I'd love to do that. Because I am super busy, I invite anybody to help me with legal research or any kind of issues that are going to help us cut to the chase and get things done quickly. And yeah, Mama Lion, you should help me out. Yeah. Now, BZ Watchdog, I get what you're saying, but I try to put out different quality of videos, and I want to do some other things that you're not doing. But yeah, I'm with you, brother. You do a great job, especially on the fly like that. Man, you're killing it, dude. Okay, so I'm going to see you guys, I think, at 8:30 tonight. I really appreciate everybody showing up. I'm going to try to figure out a way to make my new book that I just finished about how I became a lawyer with no law degree, which kind of breaks down the California law study program and the other states that have similar programs, to kind of show you guys, who are in the right areas, some options that you might have. I'm selling that for like $19, so it's cheap. And it's not a trifold, but I think it's really cool. And I'll have that in digital, and I'm trying to get one of my buddies to make paperbacks, like a first edition for you guys too. And I do have some stuff posted in my members only area, asking questions to you guys. So any of the guys who are like paid subscribers, please take a look at the questions that I have. And then also, I just want to remind you, everybody, to go ahead and keep sending Chili his things for his commissary to help him to be able to buy things while he's in jail. And I think he got his CLEP book, so he doesn't need that. But any kind of bar review study material. So if you can get him Barbary or PMBR books, the first year courses, Contracts, Torts, and Criminal Law, if you can get those to him, I know that there's a process that you have to go through in order to do that. It's not just like you can buy it online and drop it in the mail or something. No, I think it's got to come directly from the publisher, I think. But whoever knows that, please, put it in the comments so we can, help keep his thing going there, because it's such a terrible place to be, and the only real joy they have probably is going to the commissary, Secure your persons. See you guys at 8:30. Okay, well, with that being said, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. Bye, guys.